So my wife and I are about ready to head out on the Norwegian Breakaway in 3 weeks. So I guess it means it's time to do a dining guide for the Norwegian Breakaway. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, Rob from Cruise Seekers, and welcome to our show. Today we are going to do a dining guide for Norwegian Cruise Line's Breakaway. I hope you're going to enjoy this. We're going to break down each and every venue that you have on the Breakaway, including the stuff that is included with your cruise fare and the stuff that's going to cost you extra. But before we break down all the different venues, I would love to thank each and every one of you. For those of you who've subscribed and are watching our channel, thank you so much. We are growing so fast. We're having some of the biggest days in viewership ever on YouTube. We are so happy to be here with you folks. Thank you so much. And if you're not a member of the Cruise Seekers crew, please think about subscribing. Turn that little notification bell on. This way you could be part of the in the know crowd when we put out new content. Thanks in advance. So the Norwegian Cruise Line's Breakaway is the namesake ship for the class. It's the first real ship that Norwegian Cruise Line did in the mega ship kind of arena. So they filled it chock full of different restaurant venues so that you can really get a whole host of different options for freestyle cruising. It's a lot of choices here. You're probably not going to be able to get to each and every one of these venues, but this guide is going to help you choose exactly where you're going to want to go. We're going to start off with the stuff that's included in your cruise fare, and there's a lot of choices here, folks. So, what's included? We're going to first talk about the main dining room. Now, it's not just a main dining room. There's 3 main dining rooms on the Norwegian Breakaway. You got Taste and Savor, which I like to call them twins in different clothes, and you got the Manhattan. Let's first talk about Taste and Savor. Taste and Savor is on the 6th floor near the aft of the ship, and it is basically the same type of restaurant with just different type of clothing, right? Different types of colors. One's a little bit more, contemporary, while another one's a little more chic. If you're making a decision between Taste and Savor, go on the line that's the shortest. Now, if you want a little bit of a different vibe when you go to the main dining room, think about the Manhattan. The Manhattan room is 1 floor up on the 7th floor, and it's at the far aft of the ship as well, but it's all the way at the back of the ship, so you get wonderful aft views, as well as there's a dance floor in this location and a band location, so you're going to have live music. You might even have someone from the production show show up and dance for you, and you're going to see some of your fellow cruise passengers dancing. It's a different feel. It's, again, the same food as in Taste and Savor, but it's got a completely different vibe. It's sort of like, feels like a supper club. It's really nice. It kind of gives you a really nice specialty dining feel, but in a main dining room. I like it. Now, as of recording this video, right now on the Breakaway, they currently do have a rotating menu for the main dining room during dinner. Right now, though, also on the Prima class ships, though, there is a fixed main dining room menu. Now, who knows if this concept of a fixed main dining room menu might trickle down to the rest of the fleet that's currently happening on the Prima class ships. Just be advised that maybe in the future this might change on the Breakaway, but as of right now, it is a rotating menu at the main dining room on the Breakaway. So now that we got the main dining room taken care of, let's talk about some alternative dining options outside of the main dining room. We're going to start off first with one of my favorite venues on Norwegian Cruise Line, and that's Ocean's Bar and Grill. Now, what I really love about Ocean's, it's a 24-hour venue, or near 24-hour venue, where you can get your typical bar food. Also, it's got this Irish pub feel, so you can even get some really good Irish food, such as an Irish stew or a shepherd's pie. But they have basically your burgers, your salads, fish and chips. They got your mozzarella sticks. They got the your buffalo wings, all sorts of really good food. And you do sit down for this meal. Unlike the other cruise lines where their alternate dining is more of like a casual dining type of scenario where you kind of go up there cafeteria style and you decide, hey, I want this, I want that. It's usually a burger joint or a chicken joint or a quick Mexican joint, maybe even a barbecue joint, but it's served cafeteria style. That's not the case on Norwegian Cruise Line. It's a sit-down venue. You get a waiter, you get a waitress, you get good food, and it's just really nice. I enjoy Ocean's tremendously, especially the 24-hour aspect of it. Because sometimes late night pizza is just not going to cut it. Now, the other alternative dining location that you can go to on the Breakaway is Shanghai Noodle Bar. Shanghai Noodle Bar is another place where you sit down and you have a waiter and you get to choose exactly what you want to eat. They have wonderful pan-fried noodles, noodles in a broth, all sorts of Asian-inspired appetizers, great desserts. It's good food. Now, the one thing about Shanghai's, though, is that it's a small venue. There's not a lot of seats. So if you want to go, make sure you go at least 15 minutes earlier to the time that you want to eat. And don't go near the end, because if you go near the end, you might not be able to get seated. Now, another location that is included with your cruise fare, now it's got a little bit of an asterisk near here. It's included with your cruise fare if you happen to have gotten a Haven Suite. It's the Haven Restaurant. Now, the Haven Restaurant has really, really good food. It is on par with the specialty restaurants in the ship. So the food quality is very good. The staff there will want to make your experience in the Haven Restaurant top notch. They really treat their Haven passengers on Norwegian Cruise Lines with wonderful customer service. They treat you like kings and queens. But the one thing you do have to understand about the Haven Restaurant is it is a fixed menu. So after about 3 nights of eating at the Haven Restaurant for dinner, it can get repetitive. But luckily, when you book a Haven Suite, you do get 2 specialty nights dining. And most of the people also get 2 additional specialty night dining because of their loyalty level. And that leaves, 3 nights in the Haven Restaurant, which works out just perfectly. Now, if you happen to not have that loyalty level and you book a Haven Suite, after night 3, it might get repetitive, like I said. So you might think about ordering 2 additional specialty dining nights with your cruise planner, so you don't have that same food over and over and over. And finally, what's also included in your cruise fare is the buffet, the Garden Café. Now, the Garden Café is located on deck 15 at the rear of the ship after you pass all the pools and the whirlpools and the water park. It's in the back of the ship, just like most other cruise buffets. Now, I really personally like the layout of the Garden Café. It's this big U. No matter what side you go on the left or the right side, it's pretty much the same thing. You don't have to worry about separate islands and missing an island and not seeing what was on that island's food choice, etc. So I personally like just the layout of it. It's just kind of this mirror image concept, and it works for me. Every night you might have a different theme for your buffet. One night might be a Mexican night, the other night might be Italian night, the other night might be a seafood night. So the food usually matches that theme. There will be carving stations, there will be pasta stations, there'll be a grill location. And there's also going to be usually some sort of Indian food, which you'll find out that it's one of the best places to get Indian food ever. During breakfast time, you can get eggs to order and you have your omelet station. And one other little pro tip, during the evening, there is a crepe bar, which is great. I like to go at the end of the day before the buffet closes and grab a crepe with my wife and just kind of have that as a late night snack. Just a wonderful way to end the day. All right, now that we got everything covered that was included in your cruise fare, let's talk a little bit about things that cost a little extra money. Let's talk about first Ocean Blue and the Raw Bar. Now, Ocean Blue has a different take than what most other cruise ships did with their seafood restaurants. Other ships, they kind of went with this kind of seafood shack concept. Not on Norwegian Cruise Line. What Norwegian Cruise Line did, they decided to go with an upscale restaurant for their seafood venue. Now, these locations, the Raw Bar and Ocean Blue, seafood is the star. There are not many other options if you do not like seafood. And if you're a vegan, there's even fewer options. So just understand that. The Raw Bar is outside of Ocean Blue, and it's not that big of a location. So if you really want to go to the Raw Bar for some maybe oysters on a half shell, or maybe some cold seafood, or you can even make a full dinner there too. They do have seafood towers and all those things too. There's not a lot of seats. So if that's what you want, you're going to want to get there early or make sure you have something booked. Now that we got seafood done, let's talk about beef. You want to get your beef game going? There's 2 choices pretty much on Norwegian Cruise Line, and that's Cagney's and Moderno's. So Cagney's is Norwegian Cruise Line's take on a typical American steakhouse, right? So what Cagney serves is certified Angus beef. One thing I did notice is they don't talk about USDA prime. They do not talk about dry aged. So if that's what you're kind of looking for, that really top tier level type of steak, I don't think you're going to be 100% satisfied with what Cagney's has to offer. But if you're okay with good choice quality certified Angus beef, they make a really good steak, they cook it well, and their sides are good. Just understand that. Now, if you want a lot of meat, you're going to want to go to Moderno's. Now, what Moderno's is a Brazilian, and let me see if I could pronounce this word right. Churrascaria? I think it's called a churrascaria. Let's say that one more time. Brazilian churrascaria. That's what it is. That's what Moderno's is. Basically, they have these waiters, but they call them gauchos, walking from table to table with meat on a stick. And they will slice it off for you and push it onto your plate. They just keep walking around and filling up your plate with more food until you say, stop, I give up. And it's a lot of fun. I enjoy going to Moderno's. Now at Moderno's, there's also this buffet area where you can get some side dishes and some soups and some meats and some cheeses and some salads and bread. It's just a lot of food, right? And you can really fill up there, but don't, right? Because you still got those gauchos running around with all that meat. You're not going to leave hungry after going to Moderno's. So now let's talk about the European influenced restaurants on the Breakaway, that being Le Bistro and La Cucina. Starting off with Le Bistro. Le Bistro is on the 6th deck of the ship, in the middle of the ship, across from the Comedy Center. So it's in a perfect location. It's a great location for a date night, folks. It's got a wonderful ambiance. It's got phenomenal, feel to the whole restaurant. It's chic, it's elegant, it's a good place to have that special meal. Now, what they serve is your typical French bistro type of food. You're going to have your escargot, you're going to have lobster thermidor, you're going to see coq au vin. Those are the type of things you're going to find there. And if that's what you're interested in and you want a good date night meal, it's a great place to go. Now, let's talk a little bit about La Cucina. Now, La Cucina is sort of one of my favorite restaurants on a Norwegian Cruise Line, and that's really odd for me to say because I'm 100% Italian and I am very finicky when it comes to choosing what Italian food I am willing to eat because I can usually cook it better than most people. So going out to eat for Italian food, it's got to be good. And what La Cucina does, it does justice to the rustic Tuscan Italian food that I grew up with. My family is from rustic Tuscany, and so I know this food like the back of my hand, and they do just a great job in making those dishes shine, making them not be over the top in one way or the other, or doing something different. They really pay homage to that type of food. I mean, the chicken cacciatore is just perfect. It's just exactly what I remember when my grandma used to make it. The risottos, perfect. The gnocchi, perfect. The carbonara, perfect. They just do a great job, and I love it there. And I go there every single time I'm on a Norwegian Cruise Line ship. Now that we're finished with the European influenced restaurants, let's talk about the Asian influenced restaurants that you can find for specialty dining on the Breakaway. First off, let's talk about Wasabi. Every cruise ship nowadays has a sushi joint. They all do. And they all have really good sushi. It's fresh. They have different kind of rolls that you would normally not find on land. They just kind of make a different flair, something different, something special with them. And then they have their typical nigiri sushi and your sashimi. And if you're going to Wasabi and the person you're going with is not a huge sushi fan, they do have options for them too. They have the typical yakitori dishes that they can get in lieu of sushi. Now, the other location that's Asian inspired on the Breakaway is called Teppanyaki. Now, Teppanyaki is your typical Japanese hibachi grill type of location where your chef basically provides a show for you. And that show is a lot of fun all the time. You're going to have knife juggling. You're going to have preparation antics. You're going to have food being thrown to customers in their mouths and eggs being thrown up in the air and landing in the guy's head. It's just a lot of fun. Kids love it. It's a fun meal. You're going to have a nice amount of food. It's typical type of food for a hibachi grill, but it's just more for the show and the experience, that type of thing. And it's just a good place to go. There's only 4 or 5 grills usually though in these teppanyaki locations, so there's not a tremendous amount of seating. So if you want to go, make sure you book well in advance, especially on those very popular dinner times because they sell out fast. Finally, let's talk a little bit about some quick bites that you can get or desserts that you can get that cost a little bit extra. First off, let's talk about the American Diner that can be found on Deck 16 on the Breakaway. Now, this is across from the arcade and over nearby the Teens Club, the Entourage Teens area. The American Diner is your typical diner fare. You're going to get milkshakes, burgers, chicken sandwiches, fish sandwiches, big salads, blue plate specials. That's the type of food you're going to get at the American Diner. Now, I have a difficult time understanding where this sits on the Breakaway, this location, because the food there is very, very similar to Ocean's, and it's going to cost you some extra money. So I really don't see what space this place fills. Maybe because it's right across from the Teens Club and the arcade, that kids kind of just run in there and grab a milkshake or grab a burger, and it kind of just works for Norwegian Cruise Line. But I would love to see them do something a little different for that space. Maybe something a little different for a specialty dining for a price in that location, because it just seems too much of an overlap with Ocean's. That's just my personal take. Now, finally, the other location that's, kind of quick bites is a dessert location. And the dessert location has two kind of places combined into one, and that is Dolce Gelato and the Bake Shop. And you can find that on the promenade on the right-hand side, the starboard side of the waterfront. Now, this place you can get, of course, your Italian gelatos if you're really into that slow churned Italian-inspired gelato. They have about 8 to 9 different flavors, all very good. It's a great way to cool off with a special ice cream cone. And if you want to make a special kind of treat plate for your significant other one day, go to the Bake Shop. They got some wonderful, gourmet cupcakes. They got these chocolate bonbons filled with all sorts of wonderful flavors. And they got these French macaroons. Again, all different flavors of macaroons. Make a nice little plate. Bring it up to your significant other. It'll be something special. It's something I do. It's something that you will enjoy, I'm sure. And it's not that pricey. It's a great thing to do. And so that pretty much covers all the food locations on the Norwegian Breakaway. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something really good out of it. You got a lot of information. You know exactly now where you want to go and what you want to see. And you got my recommendations, like Cucina. Go to La Cucina. So again, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Let us know in the comments down below what your favorite restaurant is on the Breakaway, what your favorite meal is to get from the Breakaway, what you like at the main dining room, anything. What's your favorite gelato flavor? Anything. We love seeing your comments. We comment back to you. We try to answer to everything. And again, if you're not a member of our Cruise Seekers crew, please think about subscribing. We would love to have you with us. Turn that little notification bell on. Thanks in advance. So until we talk again next time, this is Rob from Cruise Seekers reminding each and every one of you to always seek the seas. Bye now.